Hello everybody, this is Mr. Stidham. Today I'm going to talk about the Cabinet Secretaries project. Essentially I'm going to give an overview of the project, some of the criteria that you all will need to complete for the project, as well as some helpful tips to kind of help you out with this. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So first off, before I get into the actual project, a little bit of an introduction. So I know we've gone over the executive branch, but it's always good to kind of have a bit of a review, especially before doing a project related to the executive branch. So one thing to kind of keep in mind, the executive branch's main job is to enforce laws. So where the legislative branch creates laws and the judicial branch interprets the law and sees if it's violating the Constitution or not, the executive branch's main job is to enforce these laws and make sure that these laws are being followed. Now, the leader of the executive branch is the President of the United States and is followed by the Vice President. The President is also supported by the President's Cabinet. Now, the Cabinet, or the Cabinet Secretaries. Essentially, the Cabinet helps to advise the President in different matters. Each Secretary oversees a certain area of the government. For example, the Secretary of the Interior handles things within the country. One of the agencies that they handle is the National Park Service. Another example is the Secretary of Defense. So they kind of handle the defense of the country. So they usually are involved with the military. And then obviously the Secretary of Education handles broad education policies. So these are just a few examples of the different cabinet secretaries. Now, the essential question for this project is evaluate the importance of the role of the President's Cabinet in assisting the President in his duties. So by the end of this project, you will be able to answer just how important the Cabinet's role is in assisting the President of the United States. So this is essentially the main goal of this project. Now I'm going to go over the different steps and days for the project, so you all can kind of go through everything and see not only what steps you will need to take in order to do the project, but on which days you'll be doing this. So we'll go ahead and get rolling. So on day one, you will be getting into your groups and assigned secretary. So the groups will be decided by the pods each group sits in. So you'll be with your pod mates essentially. Each group will be assigned a different cabinet secretary to focus on the project. So every group will get their own cabinet secretary that they will be focusing on and researching. Overall, each group will need to focus on the general position of the secretary, who the current secretary is, and how that position is able to support the president. So these are really the three main criteria that you'll be looking at. Also on day one and into day two, each group will be researching and reviewing. The reason why I say research and review is because not only may people research, but they may find that they need to review the executive branch a little bit. So students will need to research their assigned cabinet secretary and the different criteria related to that individual and their position. Their students can find their own sources. A list of sources are also provided on the class site to help students find information. On this list of resources, I've also included resources about the executive branch in order for students to review in case they need to. So that will be day one and day two. On day 2, day 3, and day 4, that'll be the majority of this project. And that's essentially where each group will be creating their Google webpage. So using Google Sites, each group will create a small website profile of their cabinet secretary. Each group will need at least 3 pages on their Google site. The pages should be the following. So you should have a page introducing your cabinet position and the agency's organizations and responsibilities under it. So that should be 1 page that kind of introduces your assigned secretary. The second page should be the current secretary. In other words, the person who currently holds that position, and a short explanation about them, who they are, a little bit about their life, as well as what they've accomplished so far in their position. And then finally, how this the last page should kind of hit the essential question a bit. So how this cabinet secretary assists the president in their duties. So how does this role help the president in handling the executive branch? So you should have at least 3 pages, as you can see here. You can do more if needed, but you need absolutely 3 pages with this criteria on it. Finally, on day 5, once everyone is done with their web page, we will have a virtual merry-go-round where students will be able to look at the other websites of all the other groups. So essentially, everybody will be learning about all the different cabinet secretaries. Students will have a graphic organizer that they will complete in order to have an understanding of the roles and importance of each position. Students will be required to complete a discussion board on the class website. They will need to answer the essential question, evaluate the importance of the role of the president's cabinet in assisting the president in his duties. In other words, each student will be answering the essential question on this discussion board to show that they have hit the main objectives for this project. And in this response, students will need to provide at least 3 pieces of evidence for their response. So these 3 pieces of evidence will come from the virtual merry-go-round. So students will use what they learned from the other projects in order to answer this question. Also on day 5, you'll also have a group evaluation. So students will complete a project evaluation at the end of the project. Students will not only evaluate their group members, but also themselves and what they contributed to the project. So there is a group evaluation piece where you will not only evaluate your group members as well as yourself. So this is a way for you all to kind of give feedback on how everyone did and to kind of hold everyone accountable to make sure that no one's slacking or just not doing any work. So that's essentially the timeline for the project, as well as some helpful tips and things to kind of know. So in regards to the project, you all may run into some questions or issues. If that happens, please make sure that you ask me. All right, you can see me in person, you can Zoom, you can message me, email me. There are a lot of different ways you can get a hold of me. But essentially, I can only help if I know you need help. So it's imperative that you communicate with me and let me know that you all need help, whether it's question or issues in your group. So please make sure that you contact me or talk to me. So I'll be checking in throughout the project. So please make sure that you take advantage of those opportunities. So this is pretty much a rundown of the project for this week. So again, if you need any help, let me know, and I will see you all later. So have a good day, everybody.